A single photograph can destroy an empire, or ignite something far more dangerous. When Madison Carter accidentally sends an intimate photo to her billionaire boss on Christmas Eve, she expects annihilation. Instead, Leo Conti does something worse. He answers. Their midnight conversation sparks a connection neither can deny, but someone else is listening. Someone who knows Leo's secrets. Someone who will use Madison to bring him to his knees. This is a story about power, desire, and the price of being seen, where one mistake becomes the beginning of war, and falling in love might be the most dangerous move of all. Stay until the end, drop a like, and comment your city. Let's see how far this story travels. The city looked like a jewel box on Christmas Eve, towers wrapped in white lights, snow falling in soft spirals that melted before they hit pavement. From the 47th floor, Leo Conti watched it all through floor-to-ceiling glass and felt nothing. He'd stopped noticing beauty somewhere around his third billion. Now it was just backdrop, pretty, expensive, irrelevant. His phone buzzed on the marble counter. He almost ignored it. Almost. The screen lit up with the name that made his jaw tighten. Madison Carter, his executive assistant. The woman who ran his schedule with terrifying efficiency and never, not once in 18 months, contacted him after hours unless the building was on fire. He picked up the phone. The message loaded. Leo's breath stopped. It wasn't a report, wasn't a calendar update. It was a photograph. Her, skin warm against dark sheets, curves barely concealed by midnight blue silk, eyes heavy-lidded and unfocused, lips parted like she'd just whispered something private. The angle was intimate, deliberate, meant for someone who knew what she tasted like. His brain short-circuited, then rebooted into cold analysis. This wasn't for him. 3 seconds later, another message came through. Oh my God. Then, please delete that. Then, Mr. Conti, I'm so sorry. Then nothing. Leo stared at the phone like it might explode. His pulse hammered in his throat, a sensation he hadn't felt in years. He prided himself on control, over his companies, his competitors, his own reactions. Control was currency. Control was survival. But Madison Carter, half naked on his screen, obliterated every boardroom instinct he'd ever honed. He should delete it, should pretend this never happened, should send a terse reply absolving her of embarrassment and move on. Instead, he enlarged the photo. Her expression gutted him, vulnerable, unguarded. Nothing like the crisp professional who handed him coffee every morning and fielded hostile investors without flinching. This version of Madison looked soft, hungry, human in a way that made his chest ache. He was 52 years old, she was 28. He was her employer. This was every HR nightmare wrapped in lace and bad timing, and he couldn't look away. His thumbs hovered over the keyboard, typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I'm not deleting it yet. He watched the typing indicator appear, disappear, appear again. Please, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. It was a mistake. Then let's discuss the mistake. The indicator blinked for 30 seconds, then stopped. No response. Leo walked to the window, phone clenched in his fist. Below, couples strolled arm in arm through snow that looked cleaner from a distance. Taxis honked. Somewhere people were happy. He couldn't remember the last time he'd been happy. Satisfied, yes. Successful, constantly. But happy. That required vulnerability, and vulnerable men got destroyed. He'd learned that at 23 when his first partner embezzled $2 million and vanished. Learned it again at 35 when his ex-wife's lawyer stripped him of half his assets because he'd been stupid enough to marry for love. Now he married for tax breaks. His third wife lived in Monaco, and they saw each other twice a year at charity galas, where they smiled for cameras and slept in separate rooms. He didn't do messy, didn't do complicated. Madison Carter was both. His phone rang. Her name flashed on the screen. He answered before the second ring. Don't hang up, he said. Silence. Then a shaky exhale. I need this job. Her voice was raw, stripped, nothing like the polished tone she used to negotiate with venture capitalists. I'm not firing you, Leo said. Then what do you want? Good question. He didn't have a good answer. To make sure you're okay. A bitter laugh crackled through the speaker. I just sent my boss a nude. I'm not okay. It wasn't a nude. It was close enough? Who was it meant for? The silence stretched so long he thought she'd hung up. Then, no one. An ex. Someone who doesn't matter anymore. Ryan Blake. He heard her breath catch. How do you… I know everyone in your life, Madison. It's my job to know. He kept his voice even, but something dark curled through his gut. Blake was a mid-level analyst at a rival firm. Decent resume, unremarkable face, the kind of man who looked good on paper and disappointing in person. That's creepy, she said. That's thorough. You ran a background check on my ex-boyfriend? On everyone who gets close to you. You have access to everything I own. Did you think I wouldn't vet your connections? Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. He wasn't supposed to see it either. I was going to delete it. I just needed to, I don't know, feel like someone wanted me. The confession hit him like a fist to the sternum. He closed his eyes. Tried to remember why this was inappropriate. Tried to remember every corporate policy he'd ever signed. Failed. Madison. Please don't be nice to me right now. I can't handle nice. Then I'll be honest. That photo is the most beautiful thing I've seen in a decade, and I'm trying very hard not to be the kind of man who takes advantage of your embarrassment. Silence. Then, what kind of man are you? The wrong kind. She laughed, soft, broken. That makes two of us. He should end this call, should say something reassuring and professional and final. Instead, he said, "Tell me about him." Ryan? Yes. Why? Because I want to know what kind of man gets that photo and doesn't deserve it. He heard her move, fabric rustling, a door closing. When she spoke again, her voice was muffled, like she'd pressed the phone against her shoulder. We dated for 2 years. He wanted me to be smaller, quieter, less ambitious. When I got the job with you, he said I was sleeping my way to the top. Leo's jaw clenched. Charming. I broke up with him 6 months ago. He's been texting ever since, apologizing, promising he's changed. Tonight I was weak and lonely and stupid, and I thought maybe… Her voice cracked. I thought maybe if I gave him what he wanted, he'd stop making me feel worthless. You're not worthless. You don't know me. I know you run my life better than I do. I know you've tripled my portfolio's efficiency. I know every person in my office is intimidated by you except me. He paused. And I know you deserve better than Ryan Blake. You really looked into him. I look into everyone. That's still creepy. I prefer cautious. She was quiet for a moment. Then, what are you wearing? The question caught him off guard. What? You asked me to talk. I'm talking. What are you wearing right now? He glanced down at himself. Suit pants, white shirt, no tie. You're still dressed. It's almost midnight. I don't sleep much. Why not? Sleep is when you stop controlling things. That sounds exhausting. It is. He didn't know why he admitted it. Didn't know why he was still on the phone. What are you wearing? Sweatpants and regret. He smiled despite himself. Regret looks good on you. You can't see me. I saw the photo. That wasn't me. That was… She stopped. What? Someone I wanted to be. Someone desirable. Someone worth… Another pause. Never mind. Worth what? Risk. The word hung between them like smoke. Leo felt something shift in his chest, a tectonic plate moving after years of stillness. Dangerous, irresponsible, inevitable. You are, he said quietly. Am what? Worth risk. He heard her breathing change, faster, shallower. Mr. Conti. Leo. Leo. His name in her mouth sounded like a confession. What are we doing? I don't know. This is a bad idea. Probably. I should hang up. You should. Neither of them moved. Then his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He pulled it away from his ear, glanced at the screen. His blood turned to ice. The message was simple. Enjoying the show, Mr. Conti? Attached was a screenshot. Madison's photo, time-stamped, with a caption. Looks like your assistant has interesting hobbies. Leo? Madison's voice was tinny through the speaker. You still there? He couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. Someone had the photo. Someone knew. Another text. We should talk about her future and yours. His mind raced. Who had access? How did they get it? The photo was sent directly to his phone, unless someone was monitoring his messages, or hers, or both. Leo? He forced himself to focus. I'm here. You got quiet. We have a problem. Bigger than me accidentally sexting my boss? Yes. He stared at the messages. Unknown number. Untraceable. Professional. Someone else has the photo. Silence. Then, what? Someone just sent it to me. With a message. He read it to her, voice flat. He heard her choke on air. Oh God! Oh God, no! Who? How? I don't know yet. His brain shifted into tactical mode, threat assessment, damage control. But they want something. My career's over. I can't. Her breathing was ragged, panicked. Madison, listen to me. He used his boardroom voice, calm, commanding. You're not fired. You're not ruined. We're going to handle this. How? Everyone's going to see. No one's going to see anything. He was already moving, grabbing his laptop from the desk, pulling up security protocols. I'm going to find out who this is and shut them down before they can blink. You can't protect me from this? Watch me. Another text. TikTok, Mr. Canty, your move. Leo's jaw clenched. Whoever this was, they'd made a critical mistake. They'd threatened someone under his protection, and Leo Conti didn't lose. Go to bed, he told Madison. Lock your doors. Don't answer calls from numbers you don't recognize. I'll handle this. Leo, trust me. I don't even know you. Then trust that I'm very good at destroying people who come after what's mine. The words came out harder than he intended. Possessive. Wrong. But he didn't take them back. I'm not yours, she whispered. Not yet. He ended the call before she could respond. Then he dialed his head of security. The man answered on the first ring. Sir? I need a trace on an unknown number, and I need surveillance on Madison Carter. Discreet, full coverage, starting now. What's the threat level? Leo looked at the messages, at the photo, at the danger crystallizing around a woman who'd accidentally stumbled into his world and now couldn't escape. High, he said, and escalating. He worked through the night, called in favors, activated contacts in cybersecurity. The number was a burner, disposable, routed through proxies designed to disappear. But everyone left traces. Everyone made mistakes. By 4 a.m., he had a lead. The message originated from a server linked to a corporate espionage firm. High-end. Expensive. The kind hired by people with serious money and serious grudges. By 5 a.m., he had a suspect. Ryan Blake's financial records showed a recent deposit, $20,000, wired from an offshore account. By 6 a.m., he had confirmation. Security footage from Madison's apartment building showed Blake entering the lobby 2 hours before she sent the photo. He'd left 15 minutes later with a smile on his face. Leo stared at the footage, felt rage boil behind his ribs. Blake hadn't just been texting her. He'd been in her apartment, had access to her phone, had probably cloned it or installed spyware while she wasn't looking. This wasn't about a photo. This was about leverage. Someone wanted to hurt Leo, and they were using Madison to do it. The sun rose pale and cold over the city. Leo showered, changed, drank black coffee that tasted like ash. His phone rang at 7:30. Madison, he answered. Good morning. Did you sleep? She sounded exhausted. No. You? No. A pause. I'm scared. Don't be. I know who's behind this. Who? Your ex, and whoever's paying him. He heard her sharp inhale. Ryan? But why would he? Because someone's targeting me, and you're the easiest way in. He kept his voice gentle. This isn't your fault, Madison. It's my fault I trusted him. No. It's his fault he's a coward who sells out women for cash. Leo's grip tightened on the phone. But that ends today. What are you going to do? Make him regret every choice he's ever made. Leo, don't do anything illegal. I won't. He smiled without humor. I don't need to. Legal destruction is far more satisfying. I should quit. This is too much. I'm putting you in danger. You're not quitting. You can't stop me. No, but I can ask you not to. He paused. Let the silence stretch. Please. Why do you care? Because you're the best assistant I've ever had. Because you make my coffee the way I like it without asking. Because you told a congressman to go to hell last month, and I've never been more attracted to... He stopped, swore under his breath. To what? Her voice was barely a whisper. Nothing. Forget I said that. Leo, I'll see you at the office, 9 sharp. We'll deal with this together. He hung up before she could argue. Then he made another call, this one to his lawyer. I need a lawsuit drafted, he said. Ryan Blake, invasion of privacy, corporate espionage, harassment, blackmail, throw everything at him. That's a lot of charges, the lawyer said carefully. Do we have evidence? I'll have it by noon. And the woman involved, does she want to press charges? She doesn't know she has a choice yet, but she will. He arrived at the office at 8. The building hummed with holiday silence. Most employees had taken the week off. Only essential staff remained. Madison wasn't due until 9, but he knew she'd come early. She always did. He was right. At 8:15, the elevator doors opened and she stepped out. Leo's breath caught. She looked wrecked. Hair pulled back in a messy knot, no makeup, eyes red-rimmed and exhausted. She wore black slacks and a gray sweater that swallowed her frame, but she held her head high, spine straight, ready for battle. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. You're early, he said. So are you. She walked toward his office, not looking at him. Are we going to talk about last night? Which part? All of it. He followed her inside, closed the door, watched her stand in the center of the room like she didn't know where to put herself. I meant what I said, he told her. You're not fired, you're not in trouble, and I'm going to fix this. You can't fix people threatening us. Us. He caught the word, held it. So you're admitting we're in this together. She finally looked at him. Her eyes were storm gray and furious and terrified. I don't have a choice. They made us a we the second they sent that message. True. He moved closer, not touching, just close enough to see the pulse hammering in her throat. But I want you to have a choice about what happens next. What does that mean? It means I'm going to dismantle everyone involved in this. Blake, whoever hired him, anyone who thought they could use you to hurt me. He paused. But only if you want me to. Why wouldn't I? Because it's going to be loud, public, messy. Your name will come up. The photo might leak anyway, despite everything I do to stop it. You'll be exposed in ways that will hurt, and I can't promise I can shield you from all of it. Madison's jaw clenched. So my options are, let them win, or let them drag me through hell anyway. No, your option is to fight back knowing I'll be right beside you. He stepped closer, close enough to smell her shampoo, something clean and floral. And I promise you, Madison, I've never lost a fight I cared about. Do you care about this one? More than I should. She stared at him. He watched her throat work as she swallowed, watched her hands curl into fists at her sides, watched her make a decision. Okay, she said quietly. Let's burn them down. He smiled. Good. His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another message. Clock's ticking, Conti. Noon deadline, 10 million in Bitcoin. Or the photo goes to your board, your investors, and every media outlet in the city. Your assistant's face will be everywhere by sunset. Choose wisely. Leo's blood turned to ice, then fire. He showed Madison the screen. Her face went white. $10 million? They're not getting a cent. Leo, that's extortion. We have to go to the police. Police take time. Evidence. Warrants. These people will release the photo before we get through the first interview. He was already texting his security team. We handle this my way. Which is? Fight fire with gasoline. She blinked. That doesn't make sense. It will. He looked at her. Really looked. Saw the fear, the shame, the anger simmering beneath it all. Do you trust me? I don't know you well enough to trust you. Fair. Then trust this. I protect what's mine, and like it or not, you're mine now. Because of a photo. Because someone tried to hurt you to get to me, and I don't let that slide. Madison's expression shifted. Something sharp and reckless flickered in her eyes. What do you need me to do? Be visible. Come to the gala tonight. She stared at him like he'd grown a second head. The Christmas gala? In front of 300 investors and half the city's elite? Are you insane? Probably. But if they're planning to leak this at noon, we need to control the narrative first. Show them you're not hiding, that we're not afraid. Leo, I can't. People will know. They'll look at me and know. They'll look at you and see my assistant, professional, competent, untouchable. He caught her hand before he could stop himself. Her fingers were ice cold. Let me make this right. She looked down at their joined hands, didn't pull away. And if it goes wrong, then we go down fighting. That's a terrible plan. It's the only one I've got. She laughed, sharp, bitter. This is the worst Christmas Eve of my life. Mine too. He squeezed her hand. But I'm glad you're here. Why? Because I've been alone in this office for 10 years, and I didn't realize how much I hated it until you walked in. Madison's breath hitched. Her eyes searched his face for lies, found none. You're a dangerous man, Leo Conti. Only to people who cross me. And the people who get close? He didn't have a good answer for that. Didn't know what he was offering or what she was asking, so he told the truth. I don't let people get close. Then why am I still holding your hand? Good question. He should let go. Should step back. Should remember every reason this was wrong. Instead, he pulled her closer. Because someone's trying to destroy you, he said quietly, and I'd rather die than let that happen. Her pupils dilated. Her lips parted. For one breathless second, he thought she might kiss him. Then his phone exploded with notifications. Email, text, voicemail, all at once. He grabbed it, opened the first message. His assistant's photo, Madison's photo, sent to his entire board of directors with a subject line, Your CEO's extracurricular activities. No, he breathed. No, it's not noon yet. Madison grabbed the phone from his hand, read the message. Her face drained of color. Oh God, they sent it early. Another email. His investors. Another. The press. Within 60 seconds, Madison Carter's private photograph was in the hands of everyone who mattered in Leo Conti's professional life. She stumbled backward. He caught her by the shoulders. Breathe, he ordered. They sent it. Everyone's going to see. Not everyone. I can contain this. How? It's already out there. My face is, Leo, my career is over. Yours is, my career is fine. Yours is too. We're going to fix this. Stop saying that. She shoved him away. Tears streaked her face. You can't fix this. No one can. I'm humiliated, exposed. Everyone who ever doubted me was right. I'm just some stupid girl who sent a naked photo and... Stop. His voice cracked like a whip. You're not stupid. You're not just anything. You're Madison Carter, and you're the strongest person I know. You don't know me. Then let me. She stared at him, mascara streaked and furious and broken. Why? Because... His phone buzzed again. Another message. Same unknown number. Too late, Conti. The world knows your assistant's a whore. Now let's talk about what it cost to make them forget. Madison saw it. He watched her face crumple, watched her fold in on herself like a dying star. And something in Leo snapped. He pulled her against his chest, wrapped his arms around her, felt her shake with sobs she'd been holding back since midnight. I'm going to kill them, he said into her hair. Whoever did this. I'm going to ruin them so thoroughly they'll wish they'd never been born. It won't change what happened. No, but it'll feel good. She laughed through tears. You're insane. Probably. He pulled back just enough to see her face, thumbed away her tears. But I'm your kind of insane now. His phone rang. The board chair. He silenced it. Rang again. His lawyer. Silenced. Rang again. Unknown number. He answered. Put it on speaker. Mr. Conti. The voice was male, smooth, unfamiliar. I see you received our gift. Who are you? Someone with a vested interest in watching you fall. A pause. How does it feel knowing your entire empire is about to crumble because you couldn't keep your hands off the help? Madison flinched. Leo's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. "I'm going to find you," Leo said quietly. "And when I do—" "You'll do nothing, because the moment you make a move, we release the rest." "The rest? Oh, Mr. Conti, you didn't think it was just one photo, did you?" The voice turned gleeful. "We have videos, messages, every intimate moment Miss Carter shared with her ex-boyfriend, every vulnerable confession, every—" Madison made a sound like a wounded animal. Leo's vision went red. "Listen to me very carefully. You have 10 seconds to delete everything you have, or I will spend every dollar I own hunting you down and making sure you never work again." "Empty threats from a desperate man," the voice laughed. "You're done, Conti. Your board's already calling for your head. Your investors are jumping ship. And all because you couldn't resist, 'My name is Madison Carter.'" Both men fell silent. Madison stepped forward, took the phone from Leo's hand. Her voice shook, but her words were steel. "You keep calling me the help and the assistant like I'm not a person, like I don't have a name, but I do, and you're going to remember it." "Ms. Carter, no. You're going to shut up and listen." She was shaking. Tears still streaked her face, but her eyes burned. "You think you've destroyed me. You think I'm going to hide and cry and disappear, but I'm not. I'm going to stand in front of 300 people tonight at that gala and own every second of what you've done. Because you didn't just violate my privacy, you committed a crime, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. You think anyone will listen? You're a nobody, a scandal, a woman with nothing left to lose," Madison cut in, "which makes me the most dangerous person you've ever met." She hung up. The silence was deafening. Leo stared at her. "That was stupid, reckless." She laughed wildly. "I don't care. I'm tired of being afraid." "I was going to say incredible." She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time since midnight she smiled. "So we're going to the gala? Unless you've changed your mind." "I haven't." She squared her shoulders. "But I need a dress, and a lawyer, and possibly a miracle. I can do 2 out of 3. "Which 2? "The dress and the lawyer. Miracles are above my pay grade." He caught her hand again, held it. "But I promise you this, Madison. By the end of tonight, everyone who hurt you will regret it." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I don't break promises." He lifted her hand, pressed a kiss to her knuckles, felt her pulse jump beneath his lips. "And I'm promising you, this ends with them bleeding, not us." She believed him. He could see it in her eyes. Dangerous, reckless, exactly what he needed. "Okay," she whispered, "let's go to war." They had 4 hours until the gala, 4 hours to turn a disaster into a weapon. Leo made calls, Madison made lists, his legal team assembled, her courage solidified. At 11 a.m., another message arrived. Last chance. Pay or burn. Leo deleted it without reading it to Madison. At noon, his board called an emergency meeting. He told them he'd address everything at the gala. At 2 p.m., Madison tried on dresses. Leo watched from across the room and tried not to think about the photo, about what it would feel like to see that vulnerability in person. At 4 p.m., his head of security pulled him aside. "We tracked the source. It's not just Blake. There's a shell corporation behind him, someone with serious resources. Names. Working on it, but, sir, whoever this is, they've been planning this for months." Leo's blood chilled. "This isn't about the photo." "No, sir. The photo was just the trigger. They wanted you compromised, distracted, vulnerable." "Why?" "I don't know yet, but I will." At 6 p.m., Madison stood in front of him in a midnight blue gown that matched the silk in her photo. Her hair was swept up, her makeup flawless. She looked like vengeance in heels. "Ready?" she asked. "Are you?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." They arrived at the gala at 7. Cameras flashed. Whispers erupted. Madison held Leo's arm and walked through the lobby like she owned it. Inside the ballroom, 300 pairs of eyes turned their way. And in the back corner, half hidden in shadow, a man Leo didn't recognize raised a champagne glass in mock salute. The real enemy had just revealed himself. And the night was only beginning. The man in the corner didn't move, just stood there with his champagne flute raised like a conductor waiting for the orchestra to notice him. He was maybe 45, sharp suit, slicked back hair, the kind of face that looked expensive but forgettable. Leo had never seen him before in his life. That was the problem. Leo knew everyone in this room. He'd made it his business to know every investor, every competitor, every politician with their hand out. He memorized faces the way other men memorized stock tickers. This man was a ghost, a blank space where information should be. Madison's fingernails dug into his arm through the fabric of his tuxedo. Who is that? I don't know. He's staring at us. I know. The man smiled, slow, deliberate, like he could hear them from across the ballroom. Then he turned and disappeared into the crowd. Leo's jaw clenched. Stay close to me. I wasn't planning on wandering off. Madison's voice was tight. She was still smiling, had been smiling since they walked in, but her eyes were fractured glass. How long do we have to stay? Until I say what needs to be said. And what's that? That anyone who comes after you comes after me. She looked up at him. Her smile faltered. Leo, you can't. I can. I will. He covered her hand with his, felt her pulse hammering against his palm. Just trust me. Before she could answer, a woman materialized in front of them. Veronica Hale, board member. Old money. The kind of predator who smiled while she gutted you. She wore diamonds like armor, an expression that could freeze vodka. Leo, her voice was silk over razors. How lovely to see you, and this must be Miss Carter. Madison's smile went brittle. Mrs. Hale. I've heard so much about you. Veronica's eyes raked over Madison like she was appraising furniture. Though I must admit the recent photographs provided more detail than I expected. Leo felt Madison flinch, felt rage boil up his spine. Veronica. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking, darling. Veronica sipped her champagne. The board is rather concerned. Optics matter, you understand. Having your assistant's intimate photographs circulating among investors does create a certain impression. The impression, Leo said quietly, should be that someone committed a crime against Ms. Carter, and I'm taking it very seriously. Oh, of course. Crime. Terrible business. Veronica's smile didn't reach her eyes. But one does wonder about judgment, both yours and hers. After all, if she can't protect her own privacy, how can we trust her with yours? Madison went rigid. Leo felt her pulling away, not physically, but internally, folding into herself. That's enough, he said. I'm merely expressing concern. You're expressing the kind of misogynistic garbage I've spent 30 years listening to, and I'm done pretending it's acceptable. His voice dropped to a register that made Veronica's smile crack. Madison Carter is the most competent person in my organization. What happened to her was a violation. If you can't see the difference between being victimized and being incompetent, then perhaps you're the one with a judgment problem. Veronica's face went stiff. The board can go to hell if they think I'm throwing her under the bus to save face. He stepped closer, lowered his voice so only she could hear. And if I find out you had anything to do with leaking that photo, I will personally ensure you lose everything you've ever cared about. Are we clear? Veronica's pupils dilated. For a second, real fear flickered across her face. Then the mask snapped back into place. Crystal? She turned on her heel and vanished into the crowd. Madison exhaled shakily. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. She's on your board. She could vote you out. Let her try. He guided her toward the bar. Needed distance. Needed to think. You okay? No. Her voice cracked. Everyone's staring. I can feel them looking at me and thinking about that photo, about my body, about... Hey. He turned her to face him, blocked the room with his shoulders. Look at me. Not them. Me. She did. Her eyes were wet, furious, terrified. You're not what they think, he said. You're not a scandal or a mistake. You're a person who was violated, and you're standing here anyway. That takes more courage than anyone in this room has ever had. I don't feel courageous. I feel exposed. Good. Use it. He caught her chin, tilted her face up. Exposed means they can't hide you, means they have to see you. So make them see someone they can't forget. Her breath hitched. For a second, she looked like she might kiss him, or slap him, or both. Then someone cleared their throat behind them. Leo turned. It was Marcus Chen, CFO, Numbers guy, loyal to a fault, but his expression was grim. "We need to talk," Marcus said. "Now?" "Now." Leo glanced at Madison. She nodded. "Go. I'll be fine." "Stay where I can see you." "I'm not a child." "No, you're a target." He didn't sugarcoat it. "Please," she sighed. "Fine. I'll stand here and look tragic, very on brand." He almost smiled. Then Marcus grabbed his elbow and dragged him toward a side corridor. The moment they were alone, Marcus rounded on him. "What the hell are you doing? Handling a crisis? By bringing her here? By making a spectacle? Leo, the board is losing their minds. Veronica's already calling for an emergency vote. Half the investors are threatening to pull out. You're bleeding money and credibility, and you're, what, playing white knight for your assistant?" "She's not just my assistant." "Then what is she?" "Good question." Leo didn't have an answer. "Someone who doesn't deserve what's happening to her." "Neither do you, but here we are." Marcus scrubbed his face. "Look, I get it. She seems nice, pretty, vulnerable. But you can't save her, Leo. You can barely save yourself right now." "I'm not trying to save her. I'm trying to make this right." "By doing what? Giving a speech? Holding her hand?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "You think that's going to make the photo disappear? Make the board forgive you? This is a disaster, and you're making it worse." "Then what would you have me do? Fire her? Throw her to the wolves?" "Yes, if that's what it takes to protect the company." Marcus's voice cracked. "I've been with you for 12 years. I've watched you build this empire from nothing. I'm not going to stand by and watch you destroy it for a woman you barely know." Leo's fists clenched. "She's not destroying anything. Whoever leaked that photo is. And you'll find them and ruin them and feel righteous about it. Fine. But in the meantime, you're hemorrhaging trust." Marcus stepped closer. "The board wants your head, Leo. They think you're compromised, distracted. They're talking about interim CEO, about restructuring, about cutting you out entirely. Let them try." "They will. Jesus, you're not listening. This isn't about right or wrong anymore. It's about survival. And if you don't make a choice, her or the company, they'll make it for you." Leo stared at him, felt something cold settle in his gut. "You want me to sacrifice her. I want you to be smart. Smart would be finding out who's orchestrating this and burning them to the ground. Smart would be damage control, a statement, distance. You can quietly settle with her later, but right now you need to bomb." "No." Marcus blinked. "No?" "I'm not throwing her away to make this easier." Leo's voice was flat, final. "If the board wants me gone, they can vote. But I'm not abandoning Madison to save my own ass." "Why? Why her? What makes her so important?" Leo opened his mouth, closed it. Didn't have words that made sense, just a bone-deep certainty that walking away from Madison Carter would be the biggest mistake of his life. "Because she matters," he said finally. Marcus stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "You're in love with her." "I barely know her." That's not a denial. It wasn't. Leo ran a hand through his hair, felt the walls closing in. "I need to get back." "Leo, we're done here." He walked back into the ballroom, scanned for Madison, found her at the bar, back rigid, surrounded by 3 men in expensive suits. One of them, Carter Jenkins, hedge fund parasite, had his hand on her lower back. Leo's vision went red. He crossed the room in 10 strides, grabbed Jenkins by the shoulder, spun him around. "Touch her again," Leo said quietly, "and I'll break your hand." Jenkins laughed. "Easy, Conti. We're just talking." "Then talk with your hands to yourself." "Is there a problem here?" This from one of the other men, Richard Stokes, investment banker, smug bastard with a history of harassment lawsuits. "Only if you keep crowding Ms. Carter," Leo said. "We're not crowding, we're networking." Stokes smiled. "Though I admit, after seeing those photos, I'm curious what other skills she brings to the table." Madison's face went white. Leo moved before he could think, grabbed Stokes by the collar, slammed him against the bar hard enough to rattle glasses. "Say another word," Leo hissed, "and I'll make sure you never work in this city again." Stokes's eyes went wide. "You're insane!" "I'm protective. There's a difference." Leo leaned in. And if you or anyone else in this room thinks Madison Carter is fair game because of what happened, I will personally destroy your career, your reputation, and any shred of dignity you have left. Understood? Stokes nodded frantically. Leo released him, stepped back. The entire bar area had gone silent. Everyone was staring. Perfect. He turned to Madison. She looked shell-shocked, furious, grateful, a mess of contradictions that made his chest ache. "Come with me," he said. She didn't argue. Just took his hand and let him lead her through the crowd. People parted like water. Whispers followed them. Leo didn't care. He found an empty side room, some kind of coat check, and pulled her inside. Locked the door. "You can't keep doing that," Madison said. "Doing what?" "Threatening people, starting fights, acting like I give a damn about you." She flinched. "Yes." "Why not?" "Because it makes this worse." She was shaking. "Every time you defend me, you tie yourself to the scandal. You make it harder for people to separate you from what happened. You're destroying yourself for me, and I can't let you do that. Too late." "Leo, I don't care about the optics, Madison. I don't care what the board thinks or what investors say or what some hedge fund asshole implies about you." He stepped closer. "I care that you walked into this room terrified and you're still standing. I care that you're facing down an entire industry that wants to shame you into silence. And I care that if I don't make it crystal clear that you're under my protection, someone's going to hurt you worse than they already have. I don't need protection. I need—" "What? Tell me what you need." "To not be a liability." The words burst out of her. "To not be the reason your career implodes. To not be—" Her voice broke. "To not be the stupid girl who trusted the wrong man and ruined everything." "You didn't ruin anything. Look around. Your board wants you gone. Your investors are fleeing, all because of me." "No, all because someone weaponized you against me. There's a difference." "Is there?" She laughed bitterly. "Because from where I'm standing, it feels the same." Leo caught her face in his hands, made her look at him. "Listen to me. What's happening out there isn't about you. It's about control, power. Someone wants me vulnerable, and they chose you as the knife. But you're not a weapon, Madison. You're a person, and I'll be damned if I let them reduce you to collateral damage." Her eyes searched his. "Why do you care so much?" "I don't know." It was the truth. "But I do." "That's a terrible reason." "It's the only one I've got." She stared at him. Then slowly she reached up and covered his hands with hers. Her fingers were ice cold. "If we do this," she whispered, "if we keep fighting, it's going to get worse before it gets better." "I know. They'll come after both of us." "Let them." "Leo, I've been playing by their rules my whole life," he said. "Being smart, strategic, controlled. And where has it gotten me? Alone in a penthouse making money I don't need for a life I don't want." He paused. "Maybe it's time to stop playing safe. Or maybe it's time to be smart and walk away. Is that what you want?" She hesitated. That was answer enough. "I didn't think so," he said. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out. Another message from the unknown number. "Enjoying the party, Mr. Conti?" "We certainly are. By the way, you might want to check on your security detail. They're not as loyal as you think." Leo's blood turned to ice. "No." "What?" Madison grabbed his arm. "What is it?" He was already moving, threw open the door, scanned the ballroom. His head of security, Marcus had said he'd stationed a team, should be visible. 3 men in dark suits positioned at exits. He counted 2. "Damn it!" He grabbed Madison's hand. "We need to leave. Now." "What's happening?" "I don't know, but I'm not waiting to find out." They pushed through the crowd. People stared, whispered. Leo ignored them. His car was out front. Driver on standby. 30 seconds and they'd be gone. They made it to the lobby. The third security guard was there, slumped against the wall, blood trickling from his temple. Madison screamed. Leo shoved her behind him, scanned the space. Empty. Whoever did this was gone. He knelt beside the guard, checked for a pulse. Found one. Weak but steady. "Call 911, Kipres," he barked at the valet. The kid fumbled for his phone. Leo pulled out his own, dialed his head of security. It went straight to voicemail. Leo? Madison's voice was strangled. Leo, look! She was pointing at the wall. Someone had spray-painted a message in red. Tick-tock. His phone buzzed. Another text. This time with a photo attached. It was Ryan Blake, tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse, mouth taped, eyes wide with terror. The message beneath it, come alone, or he dies. And then we move on to her father. Madison gasped. My father? Why would they? Leo's mind raced. Her father, William Carter. He died 3 years ago. Heart attack. Madison had taken a week off for the funeral. He remembered because she'd come back hollow-eyed and quiet, and it had taken her a month to smile again. But if someone was threatening her father, that meant, your father's alive, Leo said. Madison's face went white. What? No, he died. I was at the funeral. Then why would they threaten him? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Unless... She pressed a hand to her mouth. Oh, God. What? My uncle, Victor. Her voice shook. He handled everything after Dad died. The estate, the funeral. I couldn't handle it. I was too broken. He said Dad had debts, that we had to sell everything to cover them. I believed him. And if he lied? Madison's eyes went wild. You think my father's alive? That Victor, what, faked his death? I think someone wants us to believe they can hurt the people you care about. Leo grabbed her shoulders. Real or not, this is a trap. Then we call the police. And tell them what? That we got a text from an unknown number? By the time they take it seriously, Blake could be dead. You can't actually be considering this. Going alone to meet, what, kidnappers? Extortionists? If it means keeping you safe, stop. She shoved him away. Stop making this about protecting me. I'm not a damsel. I'm not your responsibility. And I'm sure as hell not worth dying for. Yes, you are. You don't even know me. Then let me. He caught her hand, pulled her close. After this is over, let me know you. Let me prove that you're worth every risk I'm taking. She stared at him. Tears streaked her face. You're an idiot. Probably. And if you die, I won't. You can't promise that. No. But I can promise I'll try like hell to come back. He kissed her forehead. Quick, desperate. Stay here. Talk to the police when they arrive. Tell them everything. Leo, please. She swallowed hard, nodded. He turned to leave. Wait. She grabbed his wrist. If my father's alive, if he's been alive this whole time and never came back for me. Her voice broke. Leo pulled her into his arms, felt her shake against him. Then we'll deal with that together, he said. But first, I need to end this. She pulled back, looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes. Don't be a hero. I'm not. I'm just a man who's very bad at letting go. He walked out before she could stop him. The address came through 30 seconds later. An industrial district on the edge of the city, abandoned warehouses, no witnesses. Perfect place for an ambush. Leo climbed into his car. The driver, James, mid-50s, former military, looked grim. You sure about this, sir? No, drive anyway. They pulled away from the gala. Christmas lights blurred past the window. Somewhere, people were happy, safe, celebrating. Leo felt nothing but cold calculation. Whoever was behind this had made mistakes, shown their hand too early, threatened the wrong people. You didn't go after a man like Leo Conti and expect him to fold. You didn't weaponize someone he cared about and think he'd walk away. But caring was the problem, wasn't it? Caring made you vulnerable, made you reckless, made you drive into an obvious trap because the alternative was watching someone suffer. His phone rang. Marcus. Where are you? Marcus sounded panicked. Following a lead. Alone? Leo, that's insane. Let me come with you. No, stay at the gala. Make sure Madison's protected. The police are already here. She's fine. You're the one running headfirst into danger. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you've lost your damn mind. Maybe he had. Leo didn't care. I'll call you when it's done. He hung up. They drove in silence. The city gave way to industrial wasteland, rusted machinery, graffiti-tagged walls, broken windows that looked like dead eyes. James pulled up to the address. A warehouse. 3 stories. dark except for a single light on the ground floor. I don't like this, James said. Me neither. Leo checked his phone. No new messages. Stay in the car. Engine running. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, call the police. Sir? That's an order. He stepped out into the cold. Snow had started falling again. It crunched under his shoes as he approached the warehouse door. It was unlocked. He pushed it open. Inside, the space was cavernous, empty except for a single chair in the center. Ryan Blake was tied to it, just like the photo. Conscious. Terrified. Tape over his mouth. Leo walked toward him, slowly, eyes scanning the shadows. Blake! Ryan made muffled sounds behind the tape. Leo reached him, crouched down. I'm going to remove this. If you scream, I'm leaving you here, understood? Ryan nodded frantically. Leo ripped off the tape. Blake gasped. Thank God. Thank God you came. They said if you didn't... Who's they? I don't know. 2 men. Masks. They grabbed me outside my apartment. Said I was bait. That you'd come because of her. Madison. Yes. Blake's eyes were wild. Look, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They paid me to install the spyware on her phone, to clone her messages. I didn't know I thought it was just corporate espionage information. I didn't know they'd... Shut up. Leo's voice was ice. How much did they pay you? $20,000. To violate a woman who trusted you. I needed the money. I have debts. Leo stood. Where are they now? I don't know. They left me here. Said you'd come. Said... A slow clap echoed through the warehouse. Leo spun. The man from the gala stepped out of the shadows. No champagne this time. Just a gun. Mr. Conti? His voice was smooth, cultured. So good of you to join us. Leo's hands clenched. Who are you? Someone who's been watching you for a very long time. The man smiled. You can call me Caleb. What do you want? What I've always wanted. Your empire, your reputation, your complete and utter destruction. Caleb gestured with the gun. And thanks to Ms. Carter, I finally have the leverage to make it happen. This isn't about Madison. Oh, but it is. She's the crack in your armor, Leo. The weakness you didn't know you had. Caleb stepped closer. Tell me, how does it feel? Caring about someone, knowing they can be hurt because of you. You're insane. I'm patient. There's a difference. Caleb's smile widened. I've spent 3 years setting this up, planting Blake near Madison, waiting for the perfect moment. And then she handed it to me on a silver platter. One little photo, and everything fell into place. Leo's mind raced. 3 years. That meant this started before Madison even worked for him. What did I do to you? You don't remember. Caleb laughed bitterly. Of course you don't. Men like you never remember the people you destroy on your way up. Enlighten me. 10 years ago, you bought my father's company, hostile takeover, leveraged buyout. You stripped it for parts and left him with nothing. Caleb's voice turned cold. He killed himself 6 months later, hung himself in his office while you were giving interviews about your brilliant acquisition strategy. Leo felt ice spread through his veins. He remembered that deal. It had been brutal, necessary. The company was failing. He'd saved what he could, but he didn't remember a son. I'm sorry, he said. No, you're not. You don't even remember his name. He didn't. Victor Shaw, Caleb said. My father. Your stepping stone. Shaw. The name triggered something. Leo's eyes widened. Victor Shaw is Madison's uncle. Was. He's been very helpful, kept me updated on her life, her vulnerabilities, her trust issues. Caleb smiled. Family is so easy to manipulate when you know which buttons to push. You used her uncle to get to her. I used everyone. Blake was easy, greedy, and weak. Victor was desperate, needed money to cover gambling debts. Even your board member, Veronica, was surprisingly willing to cause trouble once I explained how profitable it could be for her. Leo's fists clenched. Where's Victor now? Somewhere safe, with Madison's father. Her father's dead. Is he? Caleb's smile turned cruel. Are you sure? Because Victor was very convincing at that funeral. Closed casket, quick cremation. No one asked questions. You're lying. Am I? Or is it easier to believe a man faked his death to escape debts than to accept you don't know anything about the woman you're trying to save? Leo's phone buzzed. He glanced down. A video. Madison's father, or someone who looked like him, tied up, beaten. A man's voice off camera. Tell your daughter she should have stayed invisible. The video cut off. Leo looked up at Caleb. What do you want? I already told you, your destruction. Caleb raised the gun. But I'm willing to negotiate. Your company, your fortune, everything you own, signed over to me. In exchange, I let Madison's father live. I let Blake live. I even let you walk away. And if I refuse, then they die. And I release every piece of blackmail I have on you, offshore accounts, tax evasion, that settlement you paid to cover up sexual harassment claims from your first company. Caleb's eyes glittered. Oh yes, I know about all of it. And so will the world. Leo's mind raced. He didn't have offshore accounts, hadn't paid any settlements, but proving that would take time. Lawyers, investigations, and in the meantime, Caleb would disappear. You're bluffing, Leo said. Am I? Caleb pulled out a phone, showed him documents. Forged, probably, but good forgeries. Good enough to destroy him. This is insane. This is justice. You took everything from my family. Now I'm taking everything from yours. Caleb gestured toward Blake. Starting with the people Madison cares about. Blake whimpered. Leo calculated odds. Caleb had a gun. Backup, probably. This whole warehouse could be wired with explosives for all he knew. But walking away meant Madison's father died. Meant Blake died. Meant Caleb won. And Leo Conti didn't lose. Okay, he said. You win. Caleb blinked. What? I'll sign everything over. My company, my accounts, all of it. Leo pulled out his phone. I just need to make a call. Get my lawyer to draft the papers. No calls. Then how do you expect me to transfer billions of dollars? Carrier pigeon? Caleb hesitated. That was his mistake. Leo lunged. He hit Caleb low and hard, drove his shoulder into the man's gut. The gun went off, deafening in the enclosed space. The bullet went wide, sparked off metal. They crashed to the ground. Leo grabbed for the gun. Caleb kneed him in the ribs. Pain exploded through his side. Behind them, Blake screamed. Leo got his hand on the weapon, twisted. Caleb's finger was still on the trigger. Another shot. This one hit the ceiling. Dust rained down. Caleb headbutted him. Leo's vision blurred. He tasted blood. But he didn't let go. They rolled, struggled. Leo got on top, slammed Caleb's hand against the concrete until the gun skittered away. Then he heard the click. Multiple clicks. Safeties being released. Leo looked up. 3 men stood in the shadows. All armed. All pointed at him. Get off him, one said. Leo didn't move. If you're going to shoot me, shoot me. Leo, please, Blake's voice cracked. Just do what they say. Shut up, Blake. Caleb laughed beneath him. Blood trickled from his nose. You really thought you could win? That you could fight your way out? He shoved Leo off, stood, wiped his face. You're not a hero, Conti. You're a businessman, and in business sometimes you lose. Not to you. Then watch your assistant's father die. Caleb pulled out his phone, dialed, put it on speaker. A man answered. Yeah. Kill him. No! Leo surged forward. 2 of the gunmen grabbed him, held him back. Stop, please. I'll sign. I'll do whatever you want. Caleb smiled. Too late. Over the phone, Leo heard a scream, a gunshot, then silence. Done, the man on the phone said. Caleb hung up, turned to Leo. How does it feel, knowing you failed? Leo couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Madison's father, dead, because he'd tried to fight. Now, Caleb said, let's talk about your company. Before he could continue, the warehouse doors exploded inward. Police, SWAT, tactical gear, weapons drawn. Freeze! Hands up! Caleb's men scattered. Gunfire erupted. Leo hit the ground, rolled, grabbed Caleb's dropped weapon. Chaos. Someone tackled him from behind. He fought, heard shouting, felt zip ties bite into his wrists. Leo Conti, you're under arrest. What? No, he's the criminal. But they weren't listening. They dragged him up, dragged him out, shoved him into a police cruiser. Through the window, he saw Caleb being escorted away. The man was smiling. And Leo realized too late that he'd been played. The arrest was part of the plan. Caleb had called the police, fed them a story, made Leo look like the aggressor. He'd lost. Not just the fight, everything. His phone was gone. His lawyer unreachable. And somewhere across the city, Madison was about to find out that the man she'd trusted had just been arrested for kidnapping and assault. The car pulled away from the warehouse, and Leo Conti, billionaire, power broker, untouchable, felt control slip through his fingers for the first time in 30 years. The holding cell smelled like piss and defeat. Leo sat on a metal bench bolted to the wall and stared at his hands. They'd taken his belt, his phone, his watch, stripped him of everything that made him Leo Canty, and left him with just skin and bones and the crushing realization that he'd miscalculated everything. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere down the hall, someone was screaming. The sound echoed off concrete and steel, turned into something inhuman. Leo closed his eyes, saw Madison's face, saw her father's execution playing on loop behind his eyelids, heard the gunshot, the silence after. He'd failed. Failed her. Failed himself. Failed everyone stupid enough to trust him. The door clanged open. 2 detectives walked in. The woman was mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. The man was younger, softer around the edges, but his expression was granite. "Mr. Conti," the woman sat across from him. "I'm Detective Sarah Reeves. This is Detective Tom Brennan. We need to talk about what happened tonight." Leo didn't look up. "I want my lawyer." "Your lawyer's been contacted. He's on his way." Reeves leaned forward. "But we've got witnesses saying you assaulted Caleb Shaw, that you pulled a gun, that you threatened to kill him." "That's a lie." "So the 3 security guards who restrained you are lying? The SWAT team that pulled you off him?" Leo's jaw clenched. "Shaw set this up. He kidnapped Ryan Blake. He threatened Madison Carter's father. He—" "Slow down." Brennan pulled out a notepad. "Who's Madison Carter?" "My assistant. Shaw's been targeting her, using her to get to me." "Why would he do that?" "Revenge. His father, Victor Shaw. I bought his company 10 years ago. Shaw killed himself. Caleb blames me." The detectives exchanged a look. "Mr. Conti," Reeves said carefully, "Caleb Shaw filed a restraining order against you 3 months ago. Claims you've been harassing him, threatening him. He has documentation." Leo's blood turned to ice. "What?" "Emails, text messages, voicemails, all from your personal accounts, threatening violence if he didn't back off from some business deal." I don't even know who he is. I didn't know he existed until tonight." "Then how do you explain the messages?" "They're fake, forged. He's been planning this for years." "Or," Brennan cut in, "you've been obsessed with him for months, and tonight you finally snapped." "That's insane." "Is it? Because from where we're sitting, you look like a man who's been under a lot of pressure, scandal with your assistant, board calling for your resignation, photos leaked to the press." Reeves tilted her head. "Maybe you needed someone to blame. Maybe Shaw was convenient." Leo laughed, bitter, broken. "You think I orchestrated my own destruction? That I leaked my assistant's private photos and tanked my own company just to, what, frame some random guy?" "We think you're not thinking clearly," Reeves said. "We think maybe you need help. I need you to listen. Shaw has Madison's father. He's going to kill him if—" "Madison Carter's father has been dead for 3 years," Brennan said flatly. "We checked. Death certificate, cremation records, burial plot." Leo's mind stuttered. "No, Shaw said he showed me a video." "Of what?" "A man who looks like her father? Could be anyone. Could be staged." Reeves leaned closer. "Mr. Conti, do you have any proof of these claims? Any evidence that Shaw is who you say he is?" Leo opened his mouth, closed it. The texts were from an untraceable number. The video could be faked. Blake was probably already recanting his story, claiming Leo forced him to lie. He had nothing. "I want my lawyer," he said again. "Smart choice." Reeves stood. "Because right now you're looking at assault, unlawful imprisonment, and possibly attempted murder. The gun you were holding when we found you? Registered to a security guard who was found unconscious at the gala. You want to explain that? I didn't. Shaw hit him. Left him there. I took the gun from Shaw when we fought. So you admit to fighting him. In self-defense! With a stolen weapon that you discharged twice inside a public building. Brennan shook his head. You're drowning, Mr. Conti. Best thing you can do is stop digging. They left him alone. Leo put his head in his hands, tried to think, tried to find the angle he'd missed. Shaw had been meticulous, every move calculated. The restraining order gave him cover. The forged messages made Leo look unstable. Even the timing, arresting Leo at the scene, made him look guilty. And Madison, God, Madison, she'd watched him leave the gala, watched him drive into a trap. By now she'd know he'd been arrested. Would she believe he was innocent, or would Shaw's narrative poison her against him? The door opened again. Leo looked up, expecting his lawyer. It was Madison. She looked like she'd been through a war. Mascara streaked down her face, hair falling out of its pins, the blue dress wrinkled and torn at the hem, but her eyes were molten fury. You have 5 minutes, Reeves said from the doorway. Then she closed it, leaving them alone. Madison stared at him. Leo couldn't read her expression, couldn't tell if she was here to scream or cry or walk away forever. They said you attacked someone, she said finally. Her voice was hollow. That you pulled a gun. That you... It's not what it looks like. Then what is it? She stepped closer. Because from where I'm standing, you left me at that gala, drove to a warehouse, and got arrested for assault. So please, Leo, tell me what it looks like from your side. He told her everything. Shaw, the video. Blake tied to a chair, the gunshot over the phone, the setup, the frame job. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time, then, my father's dead. Madison. I was there when they cremated him. I scattered his ashes myself. Her voice cracked. So either you're lying or Shaw showed you a fake video and you believed it because you wanted to play hero. It wasn't about being a hero. It was about protecting you. By getting arrested, by making yourself look guilty? She laughed bitterly. Great protection, Leo. Really top-notch. He said he'd kill your father. What was I supposed to do? Not fall for an obvious trap, she was shouting now. Not run off alone without backup or a plan or any proof that he even had anyone. You're supposed to be smart, strategic. But you threw all of that away the second someone dangled bait in front of you. The bait was your father. My dead father, who's been dead for 3 years. And you didn't even stop to verify because you were too busy trying to, what? Prove you care about me? Prove you're different than every other powerful man who thinks women need saving? Leo stood. That's not fair. None of this is fair. I sent you a photo by mistake and now my life is in ruins. My privacy's been violated. My ex is tied up in some warehouse. My uncle's apparently a criminal, and the one person who said he'd protect me is sitting in a jail cell because he couldn't think past his own ego. The words hit like punches. Leo felt something crack in his chest. I was trying to help. You were trying to control? Madison's eyes filled with tears. You were trying to fix me like I'm some broken thing that needs saving. But I'm not, Leo. I'm just a woman who made a mistake. And instead of letting me handle it, you made it worse. How? How did I make it worse? By making this about us. By tying yourself to me so publicly that now everyone thinks I'm your mistress or your victim or your... Her voice broke. I can't be your redemption arc. I can't be the reason you finally feel something. I need to be my own person, and you won't let me. That's not true, isn't it? You've controlled every move since that photo leaked. What I wear, where I go, what I say. You said it was protection, but it felt like ownership. She wiped her eyes angrily. And maybe that's on me for letting you, for being weak enough to think I needed you. You're not weak. Then stop treating me like I am. She stepped back, wrapped her arms around herself. I came here to tell you that I'm done. With this. With us. With whatever this was. Leo's heart stopped. Madison, I'm quitting. Effective immediately. I'll cooperate with the investigation, tell them everything I know about Shaw and Blake and all of it, but after that, I'm gone. You don't mean that. I do. Her voice was steady now, cold. Because staying means being defined by this scandal forever. being Leo Conti's assistant who sent a nude, being the reason you fell from grace, and I won't do that to myself. So you're running. I'm surviving. She moved toward the door, knocked. Goodbye, Leo. The door opened. She walked out without looking back. Leo stood there, staring at the empty doorway, feeling like his lungs had been ripped out. Reeves appeared. Your lawyer's here. He followed her in a daze. Down hallways that all looked the same, into a small conference room where Marcus Chen sat looking older than Leo had ever seen him. Jesus Christ, Marcus breathed when he saw Leo. What the hell happened? I got played. By Shaw? By everyone. Leo collapsed into a chair. He had it all planned, the restraining order, the fake messages, even the arrest. I walked right into it. Okay, we can work with this. We'll get bail posted, fight the charges, discredit Shaw's evidence. Madison quit. Marcus stopped. What? She was just here. She's done. With me. With the company. All of it. Leo, I'm sorry, but we have bigger problems right now. The board voted you out 2 hours ago. Emergency session. Veronica pushed it through while you were being arrested. The room tilted. They can't do that. They can, and they did. You're no longer CEO. They've installed an interim replacement. Frozen your assets pending investigation. If we can't prove Shaw set you up, you're looking at criminal charges and financial ruin. Leo's hands started shaking. He pressed them flat against the table. How long do we have? The arraignment's tomorrow morning. We need to build a defense by then, or they're denying bail. Marcus pulled out a laptop. I've been digging into Shaw. His background checks out. Father did kill himself after your acquisition, but the revenge angle is solid. If we can prove he's been stalking you, falsifying evidence, we can't prove any of it. He's too good. Then we find someone who'll testify against him. Blake, the uncle, someone. Blake will say whatever Shaw tells him to, and the uncle's probably dead or disappeared. Leo ran a hand through his hair. We're screwed. Not yet, Marcus typed furiously. There's always an angle, always a move. We just have to find it. But Leo wasn't listening. He was thinking about Madison's face, the way she'd looked at him, not with fear or desire, but with disappointment. Like he'd proven every suspicion she'd ever had about powerful men. His phone, returned by the guards, buzzed on the table. A text from an unknown number. Enjoying rock bottom, Mr. Conti? Don't worry. It gets worse. Attached was a photo, Madison leaving the police station, and behind her, barely visible in the shadows, a figure watching. Shaw was still hunting her. Leo shot to his feet. Madison's in danger. What? He showed Marcus the phone. Shaw's not done. He's still targeting her. Leo, you can't leave. You're out on bail as of tomorrow morning. At the earliest, call her. Now. Tell her to go somewhere safe. Marcus dialed. It went to voicemail. He tried again. Same result. Leo's pulse hammered. We need to find her. The police. Won't believe me. Won't move fast enough. He grabbed his coat. I'm going after her. You can't. You'll violate bail. They'll lock you up for real. Then they lock me up. But I'm not letting Shaw hurt her because I sat here doing nothing. Leo, think about this. I have. I'm done thinking. I'm done being strategic. Madison was right. I've been trying to control this whole situation, and it's blown up in my face. So now I'm doing the one thing I should have done from the beginning, which is trusting her to make her own choices and making damn sure she survives long enough to make them. He walked out before Marcus could stop him. The streets were empty. Snow fell heavier now, muffling sound. Leo's breath came out in white clouds as he ran toward the parking garage. His car was impounded, no phone, no wallet, no way to track Madison except instinct. He hailed a cab, gave the driver Madison's address. The man looked at him like he was insane. No coat, no money visible, clearly just released from custody. I'll pay double when we get there, Leo said. The driver shrugged. Your funeral. They drove through empty streets, past Christmas decorations that looked garish now, past couples stumbling home from parties, past a world that kept spinning while Leo's fell apart. Madison's apartment was dark. He pounded on the door. No answer. He tried the handle. Locked. Madison! He hammered harder. But Madison, open up! A neighbor poked her head out. She left an hour ago, with some man. They were arguing. Leo's blood turned to ice. What man? I don't know. Older. Said he was her uncle. Victor. Leo ran back to the cab. Police station. Now. I thought you wanted now. The driver peeled out. Leo's mind raced. Victor had her. Which meant Shaw had her. Which meant everything. The arrest, the distraction, had been about getting Madison alone. They screeched to a stop outside the station. Leo threw open the door, ran inside. Reeves was at her desk, looking exhausted. I need your help, Leo said. She looked up. Mr. Conti, you're not supposed to be… Madison Carter's been taken. By her uncle. Victor Carter. He's working with Shaw. Slow down. There's no time. Shaw's had this plan for months. The photo was bait. I was the distraction. Madison's the real target. He slammed his hands on her desk. Please, I know you don't believe me. I know I look like a lunatic, but if I'm wrong, you waste an hour. If I'm right, a woman dies. Please. Reeves stared at him, calculated odds, then grabbed her coat. Brennan, we're moving. They piled into an unmarked car. Reeves drove while Leo gave her everything. Victor's connection to Shaw, the gambling debts, the faked death, all of it. Where would he take her? Reeves asked. I don't know. Somewhere isolated, somewhere Shaw can… He stopped. The warehouse, where they had Blake. It's the only place that makes sense. Reeves punched the address into GPS, floored it. They arrived 20 minutes later. The warehouse was dark except for a faint glow on the second floor. Brennan called for backup. Reeves checked her weapon. Stay in the car, she told Leo. Like hell. You're a civilian and a suspect. You stay, or I cuff you to the door handle. He wanted to argue, but she was right. He'd only make things worse. The detectives disappeared into the building. Leo sat in the back seat and counted seconds. 30, 60, 90. Then gunfire. 3 shots. Sharp cracks that echoed across the empty lot. Leo was out of the car before he could think, running toward the warehouse. Through the door, upstairs slick with ice and rust. The second floor was a nightmare. Madison was tied to a chair in the center of the room. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead. Victor stood behind her, gun pressed to her temple. And Caleb Shaw sat on a crate, smiling like this was the best day of his life. Reeves and Brennan had their weapons drawn. Victor had his finger on the trigger. Drop it, Reeves shouted. I don't think so. Victor's voice shook. You drop yours or I kill her right now. Victor, don't. Madison's voice was raw, terrified. Please, I'm your niece. I'm family. Your leverage. Victor's eyes were wild. That's all you've ever been. Your father knew it. That's why he faked his death. To get away from you. Madison's face crumpled. What? Your dad's alive, sweetie. Has been this whole time. Living in Costa Rica with the money I helped him steal from his investors. Victor laughed bitterly. He didn't die. He ran. Because you were too needy, too broken, too much like your mother. And I've been cleaning up his mess ever since. You're lying. Am I? Asked Shaw. He's the one who found him, who convinced him to stay hidden so we could use you to get to Conti. Madison's eyes found Leo's. He saw betrayal there. Worse than betrayal. Devastation. Her father was alive, had abandoned her, had let her grieve for 3 years while he lived on a beach somewhere. Let her go, Leo said. His voice was steady despite the rage boiling in his veins. This is between us, not her. Oh, but she's the best part. Shaw stood, walked toward Madison, trailed a finger along her jaw. She flinched. She's the knife that cuts deepest, the wound that won't heal, and watching you watch her suffer? That's the revenge I've been dreaming about. Your father's death wasn't my fault, Leo said. His company was failing. I tried to save what I could. You gutted it, sold the pieces, made millions while he lost everything. Business isn't personal. It is when it kills someone. Shaw's composure cracked. He was a good man, a kind man, and you destroyed him without blinking. So yes, Leo, this is personal, and it ends with you losing everything that matters. She doesn't matter to me. The lie tasted like ash. She's just an assistant. If you want revenge, take it out on me. Madison's eyes widened. Hurt flashed across her face. Shaw laughed. Nice try, but I've seen the way you look at her, The way you threw yourself into danger for her, she matters, which means destroying her destroys you. Then do it, Leo said. Pull the trigger, get your revenge, but let the detectives go. Let Madison go. Make it just you and me. No deals. Shaw nodded to Victor. Kill her. Everything happened at once. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. Reeves fired. The bullet hit Victor in the shoulder. He stumbled backward, gun clattering to the floor. Madison screamed. Shaw lunged for the weapon. Leo moved without thinking, threw himself between Shaw and the gun. They collided. Went down hard. Shaw's fist connected with Leo's jaw. Stars exploded across his vision. He tasted blood, but he didn't let go. They rolled. Shaw's hands found Leo's throat, squeezed. Leo couldn't breathe, couldn't see, just clawed at Shaw's grip and felt consciousness slipping. Then the pressure released. Brennan had Shaw in a chokehold, dragging him backward. Reeves was cuffing Victor, and Madison was staring at Leo with an expression he couldn't name. Brennan slammed Shaw against the wall, cuffed him, read him his rights. Shaw was still smiling, even bleeding, even caught. You think this is over? I've already won. Look at her. Leo turned to Madison. She was shaking. Blood and tears mixed on her face. My father's alive, she whispered. He's been alive. He let me think he was dead. Madison, don't! She stood on shaking legs. Don't touch me. Don't. I can't. She ran. Leo tried to follow, but Reeves grabbed his arm. Let her go. She needs space. She needs space. Reeves looked at him with something like pity. You've done enough damage for one night. Paramedics arrived. Statements were taken. Victor was loaded into an ambulance with a police escort. Shaw was dragged away, still smiling, and Leo stood in the middle of the warehouse, surrounded by the wreckage of his good intentions, and realized Madison had been right all along. He'd tried to save her, and in doing so, he'd destroyed everything she had left. The sun rose over a city that didn't care. Leo sat in the back of a police car, watching dawn break over buildings that looked like tombstones. His phone, returned again, buzzed. A message from Marcus. Board's calling a press conference. They're cutting ties completely. I'm sorry. Another from his lawyer. Charges dropped against you, but the DA's building a case against Shaw. You'll need to testify. Another from an unknown number. He almost deleted it, then saw the attachment. A video. Madison, in what looked like a hotel room. Face washed clean, eyes red-rimmed. She looked into the camera and said, I don't know if you'll see this. I don't know if you should, but I need you to understand something. What happened tonight, my father being alive, my uncle's betrayal, all of it, that's on them. Not you. You didn't ruin my life, Leo. They did. And I'm sorry I said otherwise. She paused, wiped her eyes. But I meant what I said about us. I can't be with someone who makes me feel small, who takes my choices away. Even if you meant well, even if you were trying to protect me, I need to figure out who I am outside of this mess, outside of you. Another pause, longer this time. My father contacted me an hour ago, through some lawyer, wants to meet, explain himself. I don't know if I'll go, don't know if I can forgive someone who let me grieve for 3 years, but that's my choice to make, mine, not yours, not anyone's. She looked directly at the camera. Thank you for trying to save me, but I don't need saving, I need to save myself. The video ended. Leo watched it 3 more times, then deleted it. Not because he wanted to forget, but because she was right. She didn't need him to keep it. She didn't need him at all. Reeves drove him back to his apartment. The penthouse felt like a mausoleum, empty, cold, every surface reflecting back his failure. He poured himself whiskey, drank it, poured another. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then, hello? Mr. Conti. The voice was older, rough, unfamiliar. My name is William Carter. I believe you've been looking for me. Leo's hand tightened on the glass. Madison's father. Yes, I understand I owe you an explanation. Several, actually. I'd like to meet. Why? Because my daughter deserves the truth. And I think you're one of the few people who might actually help her get it. She doesn't want my help. Maybe not, but she needs someone in her corner when I tell her why I left. Someone who won't judge her, who will just be there. Leo closed his eyes. She told me not to. I'm not asking you to save her. I'm asking you to stand beside her. There's a difference. Is there? I hope so, for both your sakes. William gave him an address. Tomorrow, noon. I'll explain everything. And then you can decide if you're the kind of man who listens when a woman says no, or the kind who shows up anyway because sometimes people don't know what they need. He hung up. Leo stood in his empty penthouse, glass in hand, and stared at the address on his phone. Every instinct screamed at him to go, to be there, to make sure Madison wasn't alone when her world shattered again. But she'd asked him to let her handle it herself. And maybe, for the first time in his life, Leo Conti needed to learn that loving someone meant trusting them enough to let them fall, even if it killed him to watch. He set down the glass, made a decision, and prayed to anything listening that it was the right one. Leo didn't sleep. Couldn't. Just stood at the window watching the city wake up and tried to convince himself that staying away was the right choice. It wasn't working. Every cell in his body screamed at him to go to that address, to be there when Madison faced her father, to stand between her and whatever new devastation William Carter was about to deliver. But she'd asked him not to. And for once in his controlling, strategic, manipulative life, Leo Conti needed to respect that. His phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Marcus. The board scheduled a press conference for 9, Marcus said without preamble. They're announcing your permanent removal, painting you as unstable, dangerous. They're going to bury you, Leo. Let them. Silence. Then, did you just say let them? I'm done fighting for a company that was willing to throw Madison under the bus to save face. They want me gone? Fine. I'll go. Leo, this is your life's work. Everything you've built was built on the backs of people like Victor Shaw. Companies I gutted. Lives I ruined because I thought profit mattered more than people. Leo's voice was flat, empty. Maybe the board's right. Maybe I am dangerous. You're spiraling. I'm seeing clearly for the first time in 30 years. By giving up? By choosing what actually matters. Leo turned from the window. Madison's meeting her father today. The man who faked his death and let her grieve for 3 years. She's going to walk into that room alone, and I can't... His voice cracked. I can't be there because she asked me not to, because respecting her choice means more than my need to fix things. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You love her. I barely know her. That's still not a denial. It wasn't. Leo closed his eyes. It doesn't matter. She's done with me. With all of this. And I don't blame her. So what are you going to do? I don't know. He laughed bitterly. For the first time in my life, I have no plan, no strategy, no angle. I'm just a man who destroyed everything he touched and doesn't know how to stop. Then maybe it's time to learn. The line went dead. Leo stood in his empty penthouse and felt the weight of every choice he'd ever made pressing down on his chest like concrete. At 8 a.m., his lawyer called. The charges against him were officially dropped. Shaw and Victor were both in custody. Blake was cooperating with prosecutors in exchange for immunity. The case was closed. Leo was free. It felt like a prison sentence. At 9 a.m., he watched the press conference on his laptop. Veronica Hale stood at a podium, flanked by board members who'd smiled at him last week and now looked at the camera with practiced concern. After careful consideration, Veronica said, her voice dripping with false regret, the board has decided to permanently remove Leo Conti as CEO. Recent events have demonstrated a pattern of erratic behavior, poor judgment, and a fundamental inability to separate personal matters from professional responsibilities. Leo watched himself get dismantled in real time, every decision analyzed, every action reframed as evidence of instability. They didn't mention that he'd been framed, didn't mention Shaw's revenge plot or the extortion or the fact that Madison had been victimized. They just painted Leo as a man who'd let his obsession with his assistant destroy his empire. And the worst part? They weren't entirely wrong. He had let Madison consume him, had made choices based on protecting her instead of protecting the company, had prioritized her safety over shareholder value. He'd do it all again. The press conference ended. His phone exploded with messages, reporters, investors, people who'd spent years kissing his ass now circling like sharks. He ignored all of it. At 11:30, he made a decision. He was going to that meeting, not to save Madison, not to control the situation, but because William Carter was right. She deserved someone in her corner who wouldn't judge her, who would just be there. And if she told him to leave, he'd leave. But he had to try. He grabbed his coat, called a car, gave the driver the address William had sent. It was a coffee shop in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place that served overpriced lattes and had exposed brick walls covered in local art. Through the window, Leo could see a man sitting alone at a corner table. William Carter looked like a ghost of his daughter. Same gray eyes, same sharp cheekbones. But where Madison was all controlled fury, William looked hollowed out, haunted. Leo walked in at exactly noon. William looked up. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe. Or guilt. "Mr. Conti," he gestured to the empty chair. "I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't sure I should." Leo sat, scanned the coffee shop. No sign of Madison. "Where is she?" "Late. Or not coming. I'm not sure which." William's hands shook as he lifted his coffee cup. "I wouldn't blame her if she didn't show." "Then why ask her to?" "Because I owe her the truth. And because hiding from it for 3 years nearly destroyed me." He set down the cup. "Victor told her I was alive, that I faked my death to escape her." "Did you?" "Yes." The word came out like a confession. "Not because she was too much, because I was too broken. Her mother died when Madison was 12. Cancer. Slow and brutal. I watched the woman I loved waste away, and when it was over, I couldn't look at our daughter without seeing her." Leo's jaw clenched. "So you ran." "I drowned. In debt. In grief. In the kind of desperation that makes you do unforgivable things." William met his eyes. "I embezzled money from investors. Not much. Enough to survive. Victor helped me disappear. Set up the fake death. I thought I was giving Madison a clean break. A chance to move on without being tied to a criminal father." "You were giving yourself an out." "Yes." William's voice broke. "I was a coward, and my daughter paid the price." "Why come back now?" "Because Shaw found me. Threatened to expose everything unless I helped him destroy you. And I realized that running had only made things worse. That Madison deserved better than a father who abandoned her and a truth that came from her enemies." Leo stared at him, tried to find rage, found only exhaustion. "You know she's not going to forgive you." "I know." "You know this will break her all over again." "I know." "Then why are you here?" "Because she deserves to choose whether to hate me to my face or from a distance. And because I'm hoping, God, I'm hoping, that someday she might understand that loving someone doesn't mean you're capable of being what they need." The door opened. Madison walked in. She looked like she hadn't slept. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup, jeans, and a sweater that swallowed her frame, but her spine was straight, her eyes clear. She saw her father first. Froze. Then her gaze shifted to Leo. Something crossed her face. Betrayal, anger, then resignation. "Of course you're here," she said. "I'm leaving." Leo stood. "I just wanted to make sure you weren't alone." "I asked you not to." "I know." "But you came anyway." "Yes." She stared at him. He waited for her to scream, to tell him to get out, to prove that he'd crossed the line one too many times. Instead, she said, "Sit down." "Madison." "Sit. Down." Her voice cracked. "If I'm doing this, if I'm facing him, I need—" She swallowed hard. "I need someone who isn't going to lie to me. And you've never lied. You've manipulated and controlled and steamrolled, but you've never lied." Leo sat. Madison took the third chair. Didn't look at her father. Just gripped the edge of the table like it might float away. "Talk," she said. William talked, told her everything. The embezzlement, the debts, the fake death, Victor's involvement, Shaw's threats, Costa Rica, 3 years of beaches and guilt and knowing his daughter thought he was dead. Madison listened without interrupting. Her face was stone, her knuckles white. When William finished, the silence was deafening. Then Madison laughed, sharp, broken. "You let me scatter ashes," she said. "I stood on a cliff and threw what I thought were your remains into the ocean, and you were alive. drinking mojitos or whatever the hell people do in Costa Rica. Madison, no, you don't get to Madison me. You don't get to sit there looking guilty and expect forgiveness. Her voice shook. Do you know what the last 3 years have been like? I thought I was alone. Thought everyone I loved was dead or gone. I worked myself to the bone because work was the only thing that didn't hurt. And you were alive. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give me back the time I spent grieving someone who was on a beach. She stood. I came here because I thought I needed answers, closure. But all I got was confirmation that the one person who was supposed to love me unconditionally chose himself instead. William's face crumpled. I was sick, broken. I couldn't. Everyone's broken. Madison's voice cracked. You think I wasn't broken when Mom died? You think I didn't want to run? But I stayed. I fought. I survived. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You don't abandon them. I was trying to protect you. From what? The truth? Pain? Life? She was crying now. You didn't protect me. You destroyed me. And then you let Shaw use me to hurt Leo because you were too much of a coward to face your own mistakes. I didn't know Shaw would go after you. I thought he just wanted Conti. And that makes it better? That you were willing to let someone else get hurt as long as it wasn't you? William had no answer. Madison turned to Leo. Her eyes were red-rimmed and furious and devastated. You knew. William called you, told you he'd be here, and you came anyway. Yes. Why? Because you asked me to let you handle it yourself. And I realized that didn't mean you had to be alone, just that you got to choose whether I stayed. He paused. I'm choosing to show up. You get to choose whether I'm welcome. She stared at him. That's manipulative as hell. I know. You're putting the decision on me, so I can't blame you if it goes wrong. Yes, and if I tell you to leave right now, I'll go. Madison's breath hitched. She looked between Leo and her father. Two men who'd both tried to control her life in different ways. One out of selfishness, one out of something that might have been love if it wasn't so damn suffocating. I need air, she said. She walked out. Leo and William sat in silence. You love her, William said finally. I barely know her. That's not what I asked. Leo didn't answer, just stood and followed Madison outside. She was leaning against the brick wall, arms wrapped around herself, breath coming in short gasps. I can't do this, she said when she saw him. I can't sit in there and listen to him justify abandoning me. I can't. Then don't. What? You don't owe him forgiveness. You don't owe him understanding. If you want to walk away and never see him again, that's your right. But he's my father, biologically. Doesn't mean he's earned the title. Leo leaned against the wall beside her, close but not touching. My father walked out when I was 10. My mother drank herself to death by the time I was 15. I spent my whole life thinking I had to earn love by being successful, by being untouchable, by never needing anyone. He paused. It made me rich. It made me powerful. And it made me miserable. Madison looked at him. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked me once why I cared so much about protecting you. And the truth is, I saw myself in you. Someone who'd been hurt by the people who were supposed to keep them safe. Someone who learned to survive by being perfect and controlled and alone. He turned to face her. But you're stronger than I ever was. Because you're willing to feel the pain instead of burying it. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't about not breaking. It's about breaking and choosing to put yourself back together anyway. He reached out, stopped himself. What do you need right now? I don't know. Her voice was small. I don't know if I want to go back in there and scream at him, or if I want to walk away and never look back. I don't know if I hate him, or if I'm just... She pressed her hands to her face. I'm so angry, Leo. At him, at Victor, at Shaw, at you, at myself for being stupid enough to trust any of you. You weren't stupid. You were human. Humans get destroyed. Or they get stronger. He paused. What happened to you? The photo? The blackmail? All of it. That wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it. And you don't deserve to carry the weight of other people's choices. Then why does it feel like I'm drowning? Because healing isn't linear. It's messy and painful, and some days you take 10 steps back for every one step forward. But you're still moving, still fighting, and that's more than most people can say. Madison lowered her hands, looked at him with eyes that saw too much. You're good at this, at saying the right thing. I've had a lot of therapy. She laughed despite herself, then sobered. I meant what I said before, about us, about needing space. I know. But I don't want to do this alone, facing him, deciding what happens next. You're not alone. I'm here, Marcus is here. Hell, even the detectives who arrested me seem to be on your side. He met her eyes. You have people, Madison. You just have to let them in. What if they hurt me? They will. Everyone does eventually, but some people are worth the risk. Are you? The question hung between them like a blade. Leo wanted to say yes, wanted to promise he'd never hurt her again, but he'd already proven that wasn't true. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm willing to try to be, if you'll let me. Madison stared at him. Then she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were ice cold. Okay, she whispered. Let's go back in. They walked back into the coffee shop together. William was still at the table, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Madison sat, didn't let go of Leo's hand. I don't forgive you, she told her father. And I don't know if I ever will, but I need answers. Real ones. Not justifications, not excuses, just the truth. William nodded. Okay. Why didn't you come back when Shaw found you? Why didn't you warn me? Because I thought if I stayed hidden, he'd leave you alone. Focus on Conti. I didn't realize he was using you as bait until it was too late. And when you did realize, I called Leo, told him where to find me, hoped he'd be smart enough to protect you better than I ever did. Madison turned to Leo. Is that true? Yes. He called last night, after you left the warehouse. And you didn't tell me. You told me not to interfere. I was trying to respect that. By coming here anyway? By giving you the choice. I interfered before by making decisions for you. This time I showed up and let you decide if I stayed. Madison's jaw clenched. You're splitting hairs. I'm learning. He squeezed her hand. Not well, but I'm trying. She looked back at her father. Shaw said you took money from investors. How much? 200,000. And where is it now? Gone. Living expenses. Victor's cut for helping me disappear. I have maybe 20,000 left. Give it to the victims, every cent. Then turn yourself in to the authorities and confess to the embezzlement. William's eyes widened. Madison, those are my terms. You want any chance of being in my life? You face what you did. You make it right. And then maybe we can talk about forgiveness. I'll go to prison. Good. Maybe you'll finally take responsibility for something. The words were harsh, unforgiving, exactly what William deserved. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it. When? Today, as soon as we're done here. Madison stood. Then we're done. She walked out without looking back. Leo followed, caught up to her on the sidewalk. That was brutal, he said. He earned it. I know, but it still took courage. She stopped, turned to face him. I'm not brave, Leo. I'm just tired of being the victim, tired of letting other people's choices define me. Then define yourself. How? By deciding what you want, not what your father wants, not what I want, not what the board or the media or anyone else thinks you should be, just you. Madison's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what I want. Then figure it out. Take time, space, whatever you need. But don't let anyone, including me, tell you who you're supposed to be. What if I want to disappear, leave the city, start over somewhere no one knows my name or my mistakes? Then do it. Just like that? Just like that. He paused. But if you decide to stay and fight, I'll be here. Not to save you, not to control you, just to stand beside you and remind you how strong you are. She searched his face. You mean that? Yes. Even if I never forgive you for all the times you tried to fix me instead of just listening? Even then, Madison wiped her eyes. I need to go, think. Figure out what the hell I'm doing with my life. Okay. And Leo? Yeah? Thank you. For showing up, for letting me choose. She stood on her toes, kissed his cheek. I'll call you when I'm ready. And if you're never ready, then I won't call. She stepped back. But either way, you need to let me go. Really let me go. Not just say it and then keep showing up hoping I'll change my mind. I can do that. Can you? He wanted to say yes, wanted to promise. But Madison had asked for honesty. I don't know, he admitted, but I'll try. She smiled sadly. That's all I'm asking. Then she turned and walked away. Leo watched her disappear into the crowd. Felt something tear in his chest. Wanted to run after her, to convince her to stay, to promise he'd be better. But he didn't. He just stood there and let her go. Because for the first time in his life, Leo Conti was learning that love wasn't about holding on. It was about knowing when to open your hands. His phone buzzed. Marcus. Where are you? Marcus sounded frantic. The press is going insane. Shaw's lawyer just released a statement claiming you orchestrated the entire thing to frame his client. They're saying you're the real criminal. Leo closed his eyes. Of course they are. Leo, this is bad. They're twisting the narrative, making you look like an obsessed stalker who used Shaw's family tragedy to justify assault and harassment. If we don't respond, let them. What? I'm done fighting, Marcus. Shaw's in custody. Madison's safe. My company's gone. What's left to defend? Your reputation, your legacy, everything you've built was built on sand, and it's time to let it wash away. You're giving up. I'm choosing peace. Leo turned and started walking. Call a press conference tomorrow morning. I'll make a statement. Saying what? The truth. He hung up before Marcus could argue. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Leo went back to his penthouse, packed a bag, booked a flight to nowhere in particular, just away. At midnight, his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, then, hello? Mr. Conti? The voice was female, professional, unfamiliar. This is Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. We need to talk about Caleb Shaw. Leo's pulse quickened. What about him? His story doesn't add up. The restraining order, the forged messages, even his father's death. She paused. We've been investigating him for months. Corporate espionage, blackmail, identity fraud, and we think you can help us prove it. How? By testifying, by telling us everything that happened, by helping us put him away for good. I already gave statements to the police. I'm not talking about local charges. I'm talking about federal crimes spanning multiple states and millions of dollars in damages. Shaw's been running this con for years. You're just the latest target. Leo sat down. What do you need from me? Everything. Dates, messages, evidence, and your willingness to face him in court. When? The trial starts in 2 weeks. Can you be ready? He thought about Madison, about her request for space, about his promise to let her go. Then he thought about Shaw smiling as he threatened to kill her father, about Victor holding a gun to her head, about every moment she'd been terrorized because Shaw wanted revenge. Yes, Leo said. I'll be ready. Good. We'll be in touch. She hung up. Leo sat in the dark and felt something shift. Not redemption, not forgiveness, just purpose. He couldn't save Madison, couldn't undo the damage he'd caused, but he could make sure Shaw never hurt anyone else. It wasn't much, but it was something. 2 weeks later, Leo stood outside a federal courthouse watching news vans circle like vultures. The trial had been fast-tracked, Shaw's crimes too extensive to ignore, and Leo's testimony was the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Reporters, victims, people Shaw had destroyed over the years, and in the front row, wearing a dark suit and an expression carved from ice, sat Madison Carter. Leo's breath stopped. She met his eyes, didn't smile, didn't acknowledge him beyond a slight nod. But she was there. The bailiff called the court to order. The judge entered, and Leo took the stand. For 3 hours, he recounted everything. The photo, the blackmail, the warehouse, Shaw's confession, Victor's betrayal, William's cowardice. Shaw's lawyer tried to tear him apart, painted him as obsessed, unstable, a man who'd fabricated a conspiracy to justify his own violent behavior. But Leo didn't break. He just told the truth. When he was done, the prosecutor called Madison. She walked to the stand like she was walking to war, sworn in, sat down, looked directly at Shaw. Tell us what happened, the prosecutor said, and Madison told her story. Not as a victim, not as someone broken, but as a woman who'd been violated and refused to be silenced. She described the photo, the fear, the humiliation, the way Shaw and Victor had weaponized her privacy to destroy the man she stopped, corrected herself, the man she worked for. But Leo heard what she didn't say. The trial lasted another week. Witnesses testified. Evidence mounted. Shaw's web of lies unraveled thread by thread. And when the jury came back with a guilty verdict on all counts, the courtroom erupted. Shaw was led away in handcuffs, still smiling, still convinced he'd won something. But he hadn't. He'd lost. And for the first time in months, Leo felt like he could breathe. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Leo pushed through them, looking for Madison. He found her standing alone near the street, watching traffic pass. "Hey," he said. She turned. "Hey, you came. I had to testify." "You didn't have to sit through the whole trial." "Yes, I did." She met his eyes. "I needed to see him convicted. Needed to know it was over." "It is. For him, not for us." Leo's chest tightened. "Madison, I've been thinking," she cut him off, "about what you said, about choosing what I want instead of letting other people define me. And I want to stop running, stop hiding. I want to face what happened and build something new from the wreckage." "That's good. I'm pressing charges against Ryan Blake and testifying against my uncle and making sure everyone involved pays for what they did. I'll help however I can." "I don't need your help, Leo. I need you to let me do this on my own." She paused. "But I wouldn't mind having you there, as a friend, as someone who understands what it's like to be publicly destroyed and have to rebuild from scratch. A friend. For now. Maybe more later, maybe not, but I can't promise anything beyond that." "I'll take it." She smiled for the first time in weeks. "Good. Because I'm going to need someone to remind me I'm not crazy when the press tears me apart again." "You're not crazy. You're the sanest person I know." "That's terrifying considering your life." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Fair point." They stood there in the cold, watching the city move around them, and for the first time since this whole nightmare started, Leo felt something like hope. Not for a happy ending, not for redemption, just for the possibility that maybe, he could become the kind of man Madison Carter deserved, even if it took the rest of his life to get there. Come on, Madison said, turning toward the street. "I need coffee, real coffee, not the swill they serve in courthouses." "I know a place." "Of course you do." They walked side by side through the city, not touching, not promising anything, just existing in the same space without trying to fix or save or control each other. And somewhere behind them, in a federal prison cell, Caleb Shaw sat alone with his revenge turned to ash. While Leo Conti and Madison Carter took their first steps toward something that might, if they were very careful and very brave, eventually look like healing. But first, they had to survive what came next. Because the board wasn't done with Leo, the media wasn't done with Madison, and the truth about her father was about to get so much worse. The real battle was just beginning. The coffee shop Madison chose was nothing like the place where she'd confronted her father. This one was cramped and loud, filled with students hunched over laptops and the hiss of an overworked espresso machine. Nobody looked twice at them. Nobody cared. It felt like sanctuary. They sat by the window. Madison wrapped her hands around a ceramic mug like it might anchor her to the earth. Leo drank his black and bitter and tried not to stare at the way afternoon light caught in her hair. "My father turned himself in this morning," she said without preamble. "Called me from the police station. Said he confessed to everything. Embezzlement, fraud, faking his death." "How did that feel?" "Like watching someone finally tell the truth after years of lies." She took a sip, grimaced. "Also like closure I didn't know I needed." "Will you visit him?" "I don't know. Maybe. Eventually." She set down the mug. "He asked if I hated him. I told him I didn't have the energy to hate anyone anymore. That I was too busy rebuilding my life to waste time on his. That's honest. It's survival." She looked at him. "What about you? What happens now that you're not CEO of anything?" Leo had been asking himself the same question for days. I'm testifying in 3 more trials. Shaw's accomplices, people he blackmailed into helping him. After that, I don't know. Start over maybe. Build something smaller, something that doesn't require destroying people on the way up. That's very evolved of you. Or very broke. The board froze most of my assets pending litigation. Turns out when you lose your company, you also lose your fortune. Madison's eyebrows rose. You're actually poor? Relatively, I've got enough to live on, but the penthouse is gone. The cars, the offshore accounts that didn't exist but somehow became evidence anyway. He smiled without humor. Turns out being publicly destroyed is expensive. Welcome to my world. How are you handling it? The media attention? She laughed bitterly. You mean the articles calling me a homewrecker? The think pieces about whether I slept my way to the top? The Reddit threads analyzing my photo like I'm a science experiment? She shrugged. I stopped reading them. Stopped caring what strangers think. It's freeing, actually. Once you accept that people will believe whatever narrative makes them feel superior, you stop needing their approval. When did you get so wise? When I realized that shame only works if you give it power. She met his eyes. I sent that photo. It was meant to be private. Someone violated that privacy and weaponized it against me. Those are facts. Everything else, every judgment, every opinion, is just noise. Leo felt something shift in his chest. Pride, maybe? Or recognition. You're going to be okay. I know. She said it with such certainty that he believed her. But I need to do it on my terms. Which means some things have to change. Like what? Like I'm not coming back to work for you, or anyone in that industry. I'm done being someone's assistant. What will you do? I don't know yet, but I'm 28. I've got time to figure it out. She paused. I'm also moving. Out of the city. Somewhere quieter. Somewhere I can breathe without wondering if someone's photographing me. Leo's stomach dropped. Where? I haven't decided. Maybe the coast. Maybe the mountains. Somewhere far enough that my mistakes don't follow me, but close enough that I can come back if I want to. That sounds lonely. It sounds peaceful. She tilted her head. You could come visit. Once I'm settled, once I've figured out who I am without you trying to save me. I'd like that. Would you? Or would you show up and immediately try to fix whatever you think is broken? The question landed like a punch. Leo opened his mouth, closed it, tried to find an answer that wasn't a lie. I don't know, he admitted finally. Fixing things is all I know how to do, but I'm trying to learn that some things don't need fixing. They just need space to heal. Madison studied him. That's progress. Is it enough? For now. She finished her coffee. I need to go. I've got an appointment with a lawyer about filing charges against Blake. Then I'm meeting with a realtor about selling my apartment. You're really leaving. I'm really leaving. She stood, pulled on her coat. But Leo, this isn't goodbye, it's just pause. Until we both figure out how to be whole people instead of broken ones trying to fix each other. And if we never figure it out, then we'll have tried, and that's more than most people can say. She walked toward the door. Leo watched her go and felt every instinct scream at him to follow, to convince her to stay, to promise he'd be better. But he didn't. He just sat there and let her walk away. Because Madison Carter didn't need him to chase her. She needed him to trust her enough to let her go. The next 3 weeks were brutal. Leo testified in trial after trial, watching Shaw's network of accomplices fall like dominoes. Each one told the same story. Shaw had blackmailed them, threatened them, turned their weaknesses into weapons. Victor Carter took a plea deal. 5 years for aiding and abetting. He'd be out in 3 with good behavior. Ryan Blake refused to testify, hired an expensive lawyer, and got slapped with 7 years for corporate espionage and harassment. The jury deliberated for less than an hour. And William Carter, Madison's father, pled guilty to embezzlement and fraud. The judge gave him 4 years and ordered him to repay every cent he'd stolen. Leo watched each verdict from the gallery and felt nothing, no satisfaction, no triumph, just exhaustion. The media coverage was relentless. Every outlet had an opinion about Leo Conti's fall from grace. Some painted him as a victim of Shaw's elaborate revenge plot. Others claimed he'd orchestrated the whole thing to cover up his own crimes. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody cared. Except Madison. She testified in Blake's trial wearing a navy suit and an expression that could cut glass. When Blake's lawyer tried to imply she'd sent the photo willingly, that she'd wanted attention, Madison leaned into the microphone and said, "I sent a private photo to someone I trusted. What happened after that was a crime, not against Leo Conti, against me, and I won't be shamed for being human." The courtroom erupted in applause. The judge had to bang his gavel to restore order. Blake was convicted 30 minutes later. Afterward, Leo found Madison in the hallway. She was leaning against the wall, eyes closed, breathing hard. "You were incredible in there," he said. "I was honest." She opened her eyes. "Turns out that's all it takes." "How are you holding up?" "I'm tired, angry, ready for this to be over." She pushed off the wall. "But I'm still standing. That's something." "It's everything." She smiled faintly. "I'm leaving tomorrow. Found a place in Vermont, small town, mountains, no billionaires or blackmailers or board members." "Sounds perfect." "Sounds quiet. I'm hoping that's the same thing." She hesitated. "I meant what I said before, about you visiting, once I'm settled. When will that be?" 6 months, maybe a year. However long it takes for me to wake up and not feel like I'm drowning. I'll wait. Don't. The word was soft but firm. "Don't put your life on hold for me, Leo. Build something new. Figure out who you are without the empire and the control and the need to fix everything. And if we're both in a better place in a year, we'll see what happens. And if we're not, then we'll know we tried." She stood on her toes, kissed his cheek. "Goodbye, Leo Conti. Goodbye, Madison Carter." She walked away for the second time in a month. This time, Leo didn't watch, just closed his eyes and focused on breathing until the ache in his chest subsided. Then he went back to his new apartment, a one-bedroom in a building that didn't have a doorman or marble floors, and started the work of becoming someone worth knowing. 6 months passed like water through fingers. Leo sold off the last of his assets, paid his legal fees, and found himself with just enough money to live modestly and nothing left to prove. He started consulting for small businesses, companies that couldn't afford big firms but needed strategic advice. The pay was terrible. The work was honest. He liked it more than he'd liked anything in years. He also started therapy. Real therapy. Not the executive coaching he'd done before, but actual sit on a couch and talk about your childhood therapy. It was brutal, enlightening, necessary. He learned that his need to control came from watching his father abandon them, that his obsession with success was armor against feeling worthless, that he'd spent 30 years building an empire because he thought achievement could fill the void where love should be. It couldn't. But maybe, if he was very lucky and very brave, connection could. He didn't call Madison, didn't text, didn't show up in Vermont uninvited. He just worked on himself and hoped that wherever she was doing the same. Then, on a Tuesday in late spring, his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then, "Hello?" "Hi." Madison's voice, softer than he remembered. "It's me." Leo's heart stopped. "Hi. I'm calling because I said I would, when I was ready." "Are you?" "I think so. I've been in therapy, working through a lot of things, anger, trust, the fact that I spent most of my 20s trying to be perfect because I thought that's what made me valuable." She paused. "Turns out I'm valuable just by existing. Who knew?" "I knew." "You didn't. You just knew I was useful. There's a difference." Her tone wasn't accusatory, just factual. "But that's okay, because I didn't know it either." "What changed?" "I stopped running, stopped hiding. I got a job at a local bookstore, made friends who don't know about the scandal or the photo or any of it. Started painting again, something I gave up in college because it wasn't practical." She laughed. "I'm terrible at it, but it makes me happy, and that's enough." "That sounds incredible. Sounds normal, which is incredible after everything." Another pause. "How are you?" "Broke. Humbled. In therapy 3 times a week. Working for peanuts and actually enjoying it." "Good. That's good." He heard her take a breath. "I'm coming to the city next month. There's a gallery show I want to see. I was wondering if you'd want to meet for coffee, or dinner, or just see each other again." "I'd love that." "No expectations, no promises. Just two people who survived hell and came out the other side. Sounds perfect. Okay, she sounded relieved. I'll text you the details. Madison? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For giving me a second chance to not screw this up. She laughed. Don't thank me yet. I'm still figuring out if I even like you as a person. Fair. But I'm willing to find out. They hung up. Leo sat in his small apartment with his secondhand furniture and his modest life and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not for redemption. Not for a happy ending. Just for the possibility that maybe, he could be the kind of man Madison Carter wanted to have coffee with. And that was enough. The gallery show was in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn. Madison had warned him it was experimental, video installations and interactive sculptures that challenged traditional notions of space. Leo arrived early and spent 20 minutes staring at a piece that appeared to be a dozen clocks running backward, while a recording of someone breathing played on loop. He had no idea what it meant. He loved it anyway. Pretty pretentious, huh? He turned. Madison stood behind him wearing jeans and a green sweater that made her eyes look like storm clouds. Her hair was longer. She looked healthy, whole, beautiful. I was just thinking it's the most honest thing I've seen in months, Leo said. How so? It's about time running out, or running backward, the inevitability of endings. He gestured to the clocks. But the breathing means someone's still alive, still here despite everything. Madison smiled. Or you're reading way too much into 12 broken clocks. Also possible. They walked through the gallery together, didn't touch, didn't stand too close, just existed in the same space without the weight of expectations crushing them. I like what you've done with your hair, Leo said. I stopped straightening it. Turns out curls are easier. They suit you. Thanks. She stopped in front of a sculpture made of shattered mirrors. How's the consulting business? Good. Helped a bakery renegotiate their lease last week, saved them $20,000 a year. That's incredible. It's bread. But yeah, felt good to help someone without an ulterior motive. Character growth looks good on you. Bankruptcy looks good on me. Character growth is just a side effect. She laughed. Actually laughed. The sound made his chest ache. They grabbed dinner at a Thai place that didn't take reservations. Sat at a wobbly table and ate pad Thai that was too spicy and talked about everything except what happened. Madison told him about Vermont, about the bookstore where she worked and the painting classes she'd started taking and the hiking trails she'd discovered. Leo told her about his therapy breakthroughs and the small businesses he was helping and the fact that he'd learned to cook because eating out every night was expensive. You cook? Madison's eyebrows rose. Like actual cooking or microwaving ramen? Actual cooking. I made risotto last week. It was edible. I'm impressed. Don't be. I burned 3 pans learning how. Still counts. They split the check, walked out into a warm evening that smelled like rain and possibility. I should get going, Madison said. Early train tomorrow. Back to Vermont? Back to my life. She met his eyes. This was nice, seeing you, talking without the world ending. It was. Can we do it again? In a few months, maybe? I'd like that. Good. She hesitated, then stepped forward and hugged him. Brief, warm, gone before he could fully process it. Take care of yourself, Leo. You too. She walked away. This time Leo watched until she disappeared around a corner. Then he went back to his apartment and realized that for the first time since he'd met Madison Carter, he wasn't chasing her. He was just letting her exist. And somehow, that felt like the most important thing he'd ever done. A year passed, then another. Leo rebuilt his life piece by piece, not into an empire, just into something sustainable, something honest. He consulted. He volunteered at a legal aid clinic. He learned to play guitar badly and discovered he liked running and made friends who didn't care that he used to be rich. He saw Madison twice more. Once at a coffee shop in Boston where they talked for hours about books and politics and whether redemption was even possible. Once at a mutual friend's wedding where they danced awkwardly and laughed about how terrible they both were at it. They didn't date, didn't sleep together, didn't make promises they couldn't keep. They just stayed in each other's lives as people who'd survived the same war and come out the other side scarred but standing. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real, and real was enough. 3 years after the photo leaked, Leo got a call from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, then saw it was a Vermont area code. "Hello? It's me," Madison's voice. Steady now, strong. "I'm coming to the city for a job interview. Some nonprofit that helps victims of revenge porn. They want to hire me as a program director." "That's amazing. It's terrifying, but I think I'm ready." She paused. "I was wondering if you'd want to grab dinner, celebrate if I get it, commiserate if I don't." "I'd love to." "Great, Friday, 7, that Italian place you told me about. I'll make a reservation." "Leo?" "Yeah?" "I've been thinking about what you said, years ago, about me being worth the risk." His breath caught. "And?" "I think maybe you were worth it too. I just needed time to figure that out." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't know what this is or what it could be, but I'd like to find out. If you're interested." Leo closed his eyes, felt tears he hadn't known he was holding back finally break free. "I'm interested." "Good, because I'm tired of being careful, tired of protecting myself from being hurt. Life's too short to spend it afraid." "When did you get so brave?" "When I realized that surviving wasn't enough. I wanted to live." They hung up. Leo sat in his apartment and let himself imagine a future he'd stopped believing in. Not perfect, not easy, but possible. And possible was more than he'd had in a long time. Friday came. Leo arrived at the restaurant early, wore a suit that didn't fit quite right anymore, ordered water and tried not to spiral into anxiety. Madison walked in at 7 sharp. She wore a black dress and heels and an expression that said she knew exactly what she wanted. "Hi," she said. "Hi." She sat, smiled. "I got the job." "Congratulations." "Thanks. I start in 2 months, which means I'm moving back to the city." She paused. "Which means if we're going to try this, whatever this is, we need to be honest about what we want." "Okay. What do you want?" "I want to build something with someone who sees me as an equal, not a project, not someone to save, just a partner." She met his eyes. "Can you do that?" "I don't know, but I want to try. That's all I'm asking." She reached across the table, took his hand. "I'm not the woman you met 3 years ago, Leo. I'm harder now, less willing to compromise, more willing to walk away if something doesn't serve me." "Good. And you're not the man who tried to control everything. You're softer, more willing to listen, less convinced you have all the answers." "Also good. So maybe we can meet in the middle, figure out what 2 whole people look like together instead of 2 broken ones trying to fix each other." "I'd like that." "Me too." They ordered food, talked about her new job and his latest consulting gig and the fact that they'd both started meditating and hated it equally. They laughed. They argued about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. They made plans to see a movie next week. And when dinner ended and they stood on the sidewalk under streetlights that made everything look softer, Madison turned to him and said, "Can I kiss you?" Leo's heart stopped. "Yes." She did, soft, brief. A promise of more if they didn't screw it up. When she pulled back, she was smiling. "That wasn't terrible." High praise. "I'm working on being more effusive. Don't I like you honest?" "Good. Because I'm planning to be brutally honest about everything from here on out. No more hiding, no more pretending. Just the truth." "Even if it hurts?" "Especially then." She squeezed his hand. "We've both had enough lies, Leo. Let's try something different." "Okay." "Okay." She kissed him again, this time longer, deeper, like she meant it. And when they finally pulled apart, the city hummed around them like a living thing. And for the first time in years, Leo Conti felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. Not in a penthouse, not running an empire, not controlling anything except his own choices, just standing on a street corner with a woman who'd survived hell and chosen to give him another chance. It wasn't a happy ending. There were still scars, still trauma, still moments when the past came roaring back and tried to convince them they were broken. But they'd learned something crucial in the years apart. Broken wasn't the same as unfixable, and sometimes the bravest thing you could do was admit you didn't have all the answers and build something new anyway. They walked through the city hand in hand, not talking, just being. And somewhere behind them, in the wreckage of their past, every mistake and betrayal and moment of pain faded into background noise. Because the future, uncertain and terrifying and full of possibility, was finally louder than the ghosts. And that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. The end. Epilogue. 5 years later, Madison stood in front of a congressional committee and testified about the need for stronger revenge porn laws. She spoke for 30 minutes without notes, without fear, just the hard-earned wisdom of someone who'd been destroyed and rebuilt herself from scratch. Leo watched from the gallery, pride swelling in his chest. Afterward, they grabbed lunch at a diner that served coffee strong enough to strip paint. "You were incredible up there," Leo said. "I was prepared." "There's a difference." Madison smiled. "But thank you." "How does it feel? Knowing you're changing laws that could have protected you?" "Like closure I didn't know I needed." She reached across the table, took his hand. The diamond on her finger caught the light. "Thank you for being here." "Where else would I be?" "Running your consulting firm, or testifying in another trial, or literally anywhere that wasn't a government building at 9 a.m. Nowhere's more important than this, than you." She smiled. "You've gotten better at the romantic gestures." "I've had a good teacher." "Damn right you have." They finished lunch, walked back to their apartment, a modest 2-bedroom in a building with actual neighbors and a landlord who sometimes fixed things. Inside, their life was simple. Books stacked on surfaces. Madison's paintings hung crooked on walls. Leo's guitar gathering dust in the corner. Nothing fancy, nothing perfect. But it was theirs. And after everything they'd survived, that was the only thing that mattered. Madison kicked off her heels, collapsed onto the couch. "I'm exhausted. Want me to order dinner?" "Want you to come here and remind me why we do this. Why we fight." Leo sat beside her, pulled her close, felt her relax against him. "We fight because silence is worse," he said quietly. "Because hiding who we are kills us slower than any scandal ever could. Because someone has to stand up and say enough. And because we're both too stubborn to quit. That too." She laughed, tilted her head up to kiss him. "I love you, you know." "I know." He kissed her back. "I love you too. Even though I'm difficult and opinionated and refuse to let you win arguments, especially because of that." "Good answer." They sat there as evening faded into night, the city humming beyond their window, and neither of them thought about the past. Just the present. Just this. And it was enough. It would always be enough. Because they'd learned the hardest lesson of all. Love wasn't about saving someone, it was about standing beside them while they saved themselves. And then building something beautiful from the wreckage. Together.